All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us as we come to you live with round 4 of the Assetto Friends AF2 Endurance Championship, where you join us here in Bahrain. We're a few minutes away from the beginning of qualifying, but while this is going on, let's run you through a couple of things first. The circuit we'll be using is the Grand Prix circuit, which compared to last year as opposed to last year, is used in Formula 1. 3.3 miles, 15 turns. The current lap record holder is 131.447 by McLaren's own Pedro de la Rosa, and the current LMP lap record is a 1 minute 48.579. Coincidentally, also held by a former Formula 1 driver. Anyways, 15-minute qualifying per class. We're estimating a race time of about 1 hour 30 minutes. Going into the championship, Rubber is leading the LMP2 with an astounding 97 points, followed by Eric Axelson leading the GT2 class with 150 points. We're looking at a qualifying pace of approximately 1 minute 46, and race pace for the LMPs in the 47 to 48. We're looking at a 3-stop strategy for most of the drivers, possibly 4-stop. Tire compounds, we have a mixture between the softs and the mediums. Softs are faster, but the mediums do have better feedback. Now, compared to previous races, I'm not alone this time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Robbie, who is my co-commentator and who will hopefully be joining us for future races. I sure hope so. Oh, hang on a second. What do you mean we don't have in-game sound? Oh, I don't know why that's going on. Let me see here. Let me try figuring things out. Alright, do we got game sound now?
Now we have, yes.
Now we have, alright, so. Alright, were we still able to hear me and Robbie the whole time and just not the game?
Couldn't hear him, couldn't hear Robbie.
Ooh, well. Alright, well, yeah, we'll figure this out. Okay, so there's game audio now. Alright, well. Jesus.
You may need to stream sound from Discord.
Yeah, no, I got the...
Okay.
It's
fine.
It's
They
picking
can
up
hear
now.
you now.
Alright.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
Well, good luck, boys.
thanks.
Thank you.
Alright, so, I'm not going to start over the whole thing, but we're just going to cycle back to where you can actually hear my co-commentators. So joining me for this race and hopefully for future races is Robbie. And, say hello.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Haven't actually commentated anything before, but I've been doing some research. I've been watching F1 for about 15 years and some endurance racing on the side, bit of IndyCar, so hopefully I can bring something to it and we can add something to the race.
Always better to have two voices than one. But yeah, hopefully this will be a great race, and hopefully the qualifying will give us some metrics to pour over.
I think it'll be good. We've got some points battles back in the standings, so it will matter potentially outside of one or two people what happens. Looks like GT2 is pretty close between 3rd and 6th in the standings. And 8th onwards back to 13th is actually pretty close within 14 points. So I think has some implications for the championship as well as just for this race.
Absolutely. There's definitely been a lot of battles for sure. I mean, I only started doing the commentating after probably the second or third race. I started with Road America and just sort of worked from there. But despite the class difference, there's still definitely a number of battles going on, especially in the GT2 class alone. Now, normally during this section where we do the oops. Well, now normally during this section between the free practice and the qualifying, we usually run a plug. But instead of plugging a host or a sponsor, or actually get what what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to plug a special event that we actually have coming up. Coming up this April, we have the first Assetto Friends Festival at Goodwood, of all places. And it's not just going to be a hill climb, it's going to be the Goodwood Circuit, the Street Circuit, and the Rallycross. 3 different cars. But the main event, as always with Goodwood, is that the Goodwood Hill Climb will be a car of your choice. 40 drivers will be separated into 5 groups of 8 drivers, and you'll have a chance to do each of the 4 events. After that, the top 2 drivers in each group will qualify for the final, which will be held at the Battersea Sprint Circuit, which is the London drift track from Grid 2, if you don't know. And that'll be in the Ginetta GS5. After that, that race will decide the winner of the Festival of Speed. Each event except the hill climb will consist of 3 minutes of practice, 5 minutes of qualifying, and a 10-minute race. The event will take approximately 2.5 hours time, plus a little extra if you qualify for the final. For the hill climb, you can select a car of your choice, which will be balanced based on the car's performance and a formula to be announced after the cars are are chosen. For example, I registered a Formula One car to be for the hill climb, the Jordan EJ12 from 2001. Now, however, the car you select, it has to be free if it is a mod, has to be a Kunos car or one that's available on Race Department, and it cannot be another duplicate that another driver has claimed. You'll be asked to pick again if you've picked a duplicate. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, we're going to get straight into qualifying as we get underway here, as the GT2 cars are beginning to field out of the pit lane.
It looks like Daniel Ricciardo leads the pack out in a Volkswagen Scirocco. No, there's one car, at least one car ahead of him. I believe the first car is Redacted.
It looks to be, but we'll just have to see as as time goes on. Now, I don't have information in terms of how the qualifying will look for the GT2 cars, but we're probably going to be at least a few seconds behind the LMP2 cars. Like I said, the quali pace we're estimating for the LMP cars is in the range of 1 minute 46.
Yeah, in practice, it looked like the LMP cars in practice were closer to 149 to 150, and the GT2 cars were about 12 seconds off that. I don't know if that will carry over to qualifying. 10-second gap should be pretty significant in the race. It may not be, just as in the real cars, I don't think it's going to be a complete free wave by for the LMP2 cars through some of the corners.
Mm-hmm.
They may have to wait a corner, and that could affect passing longer term as well.
Yeah. And here comes Redacted across the line to begin his quali lap, as a large trail of Scirocco's and Corvettes trail behind. That's probably Daniel Ricciardo right on his tail.
I believe it is. Redacted leading the field into qualifying. Looks like everybody currently out is on the soft tire.
Interesting. As we said, the soft tires are faster, but drivers have reported that the mediums offer better feedback, which means they might be able to do faster on a medium compound. We'll just have to see as time goes by.
Redacted coming down here to the turn 8 right-hander.
As he,
looks like he went a bit wide there.
Yeah, locked up his wheels.
And then into the turn 9-10 left. Turn 9 is almost flat, but you have to be able to brake and slow effectively for the turn 10 hairpin. So it's kind of difficult through here to slow down while turning. It's heavy trail braking down to first gear for the corner. Down the back straight into the turn 11 left-hander. A bit sharper than it looks when you're in the car.
Definitely.
Up over the hill, should be near flat into turn 13.
And of course, the long back straight towards turns 14 and 15 here, where you can really open up the throttle.
Yeah, it's actually a really neat corner. 14's about a 90-degree right-hander, but if you carry enough speed through it, you still end up on the left-hand side of the track through 15 on the curb without really having to let off in terms of speed at all.
Mm.
Your speed just carries you right over there. So early qualifying laps looks like Jack Olivier has set a best lap of... Sorry, Eric Axelson actually has just surpassed his with a 158.68. We'll see if anybody can beat that.
Yes, Eric Axelson, who is the Swede Eric Axelson, driving the number 71 Corvette. He's currently the leader in the GT2 class with 150 points. The only one behind him is Josh Brooks in the Scirocco with 78 points. So more than likely, he's going to keep that first place, especially since the first two races he got first place and also took home fastest lap in pole position. He was second place in Daytona, but only by such a small margin.
Well, actually, Rail, I'd like to apologize in advance for mispronouncing this name, but Sunil Nayak has actually just set a 158.26. It's passing up Axelson by 0.6 of a second.
Huh. Alright, well. We seem to be having a bit of a issue here.
It looks like most of the field is actually heading on for another lap. So the soft tires may be good for more than one lap. Also, assuming my game is reading this correctly, looks like most of the drivers are at full fuel for qualifying.
Interesting. So I'd like to apologize to our audience. We seem to have trouble with the tower here, so we're using the alternative tower. Eric Axelson moves up closer to Sunil's time with a 158.296. Sunil still holding the top with a 158.267 as he goes back to the pits.
Pretty good lap out of Eric's there.
Definitely.
Looking forward to seeing this race. That's some pretty close times here. Jack Olivier is currently third with a 158.801. Josh Brooks in fourth with a 159.2, and Crab Paulson with a 159.26. It appears that Eric Axelson is going out for a third lap on the same set of tires, so we'll see what he can do.
That was a big skid from iRedacted as his teammate Josh Brooks goes behind, trailing behind Oliver on the back straight.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricky braking zones on this track. A lot of trail braking into sharp, slow corners. And while it's difficult on the drivers, it makes for good racing and increases the chance of a mistake, which should allow for a bit more exciting race.
Especially in some of the harder corners where we're seeing a number of drivers who are going wide or locking their wheels.
Indeed.
Josh Brooks coming down the main straight here as the timer clicks. He moves up to P4, but it's still not enough for the Scirocco as he comes to a stop.
Rail, do we have any data on tire wear on the Scirocco versus the Corvette?
I'm not entirely sure in terms of tire wear, but I would imagine.
Okay.
I would imagine since the cars are going to be on a 3 to 4 stop, I would imagine the tire performance is pretty much on par, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Scirocco can fare in terms of both tire wear and fuel mileage versus the Corvettes.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Ricardo went a bit wide there a minute ago. Yeah, it's pretty easy to run wide out of a lot of these corners, especially when you're trail braking into a slow corner. If you come in as few as a couple kilometers an hour too quickly, you will run very wide, and it will compromise your line if you do try to stay on the track.
Yeah. Most of the drivers currently out right now are on their out laps. Axelson currently still holding P2. Labiak moves up to P5. Paulson P6. Axelson, meanwhile, is shaving a good portion of time off of his. He just went purple in Sector 2.
Now, we've got 5 cars in the 158s at the moment, so that's boding well for the future. We'll see how things go, see if this holds up.
Axelson seemed to be a little bit slow getting onto the throttle as he floors it down the main straight. It probably won't be enough. Unfortunately, it's not. A 158.641. Seems he had a bit of an issue coming out of turn 14 or 15. Hopefully he can amend that.
Liking how the Scirocco's tend to be, they're a bit off the Corvettes at the moment, but it's not too far. And if they can get any better fuel mileage out of the smaller car, I think they will be very competitive in race trim.
Yeah, the Scirocco's have proven themselves to be quite a competitive car. Even though there have been some performance changes made to the cars as the season has progressed, the competition between the Scirocco's and the Corvettes has been very interesting.
The moment, Nayak still holding first place with Axelson in second, Olivier in third, Labiak in fourth, and Brooks in fifth. Believe everybody is now on a hot lap, so we should be getting some times in pretty shortly here.
Hopefully. Right now we're riding on board with Josh Brooks, the current second place contender in the GT2 class, powering down the back straight towards the next handful of corners. Oh. The hell?
Grail, I think the stream may have frozen.
Yeah, the game just decided to die. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to I'll get back in. Everyone just stand by. Okay, and we are back. So apologies for the inconvenience, everyone, but you know, sometimes these things happen. You know, can't really do much about it.
So, a quick update. At the moment, we have the top 6 drivers separated by just over half a second. Nayek still in first, Axelson in second, Olivier in third, and Paulson has moved up to fourth.
Impressive. That pushes Josh Brooks down to P5 with a 1 minute 58.64.
At the moment, the top 3 have maintained their times and have not been able to improve.
And with qualifying on its way coming towards the end for the LMPs to begin, this means that Sanil Naik and Eric Axelson in the GT2 class, it'll be a front row team lockout for them.
Yeah, the EP Racing Corvettes have looked strong so far this session.
Definitely. Now, of course, with our GT cars coming in for their end, and this means that the LMP cars will soon be getting underway for their outlap as we have our little camera set up here. Now, with everyone pretty much in, these are the standings so far. P1, Sanil Naik with a 158.257. Axelson, 158.296. Olivier with a 1 minute 58.401. Crab Paulson, 158.514. Josh Brooks rounds out the top 5 with a 158.643.
That'll actually be makings for a pretty good race. 3/10 between the top 5 is pretty close.
Definitely, it's extremely close, and hopefully it'll make for some great wheel-to-wheel racing, especially in the tight corners.
Yeah, I believe that the Volkswagen is mid-engined, so it may change things a bit if the Corvettes abuse their front tires a bit more to get that lap time.
Yeah. I can say from experience that driving the Corvette it's not necessarily a bit of a hassle, but if you do abuse the tires a little bit, it is rather rewarding. Meanwhile, with the LMP cars filing out, we're going to ride on board with, let's see here, we'll ride on board with Lucas Weber, who is representing Poor Energy Racing, with his teammate Simo Dalby. Both of them are out, but are on different tire compounds. Simo on the softs, Simo Dalby on the softs, and Weber on the mediums.
I gotta say, that's just a great looking car in this afternoon sunlight.
It is a really amazing looking vehicle, especially the space theme with all the stars and everything. It'll look very nice in contrast to the darkness.
Coming in here down to turn 10, sorry.
Yep.
Down to first gear, about 80 kilometers an hour, accelerate up the back straight. And then hard braking for turn 11. Accelerate up, should be nearly flat or flat through the right-hander in turn 12. Then hard braking back down for the 90-degree turn at 13.
Weber goes a smidge wide, but he had his foot down through it as they fly down the back straight with the sun setting. Weber, meanwhile, is sticking right on the tail of that McLaren as they come down towards the main straight to begin their flying laps. We're going to ride on board with Charles Bertrand, who is representing the McLaren LMP1 team. We'll ride on board with him as he goes through his qualifying lap, cutting right through the first few corners down the straight towards turn 4.
Yeah, looks like they're topping out about 260 kilometers an hour on the straight between 3 and 4. Pretty good speed for what realistically is a secondary straight. Bahrain's a good track though. It's got 4 fairly long straights, but a lot of medium speed corners. It may not be Spa, but it's also not Monaco.
And it's definitely not the outer circuit either.
The outer circuit's something else, but we're not driving that today, so that can wait for another time.
No, we're not. Coming down the back straight towards turn 11, foot hard to the floor as the Cosworth engine roars to life, coming towards the medium corners of turns 11 and 12 with the lights bright on.
And to the line, and we'll start getting some actual times from the LMP cars.
Yep, Rubber crosses the line a 1:48.127, Weber a 1:48.296, and Charles Bertrand, who we're riding on board with right now, a 1:49.376.
Yeah, it's looking so far like the LMP2s at the moment are about 10 seconds quicker than the GT2 cars. I think we'll probably get some quicker times near the end of the session, though.
I would say so, especially once the tires are warmed up and once everything is where it needs to be. We'll start to see some far quicker times. And maybe much like Lowy with Daytona, we'll have some real-life world record-breaking stuff too. But we'll see as we'll see as time goes on. Dalby, meanwhile, going third fastest with a 1:48.724.
Yeah, and that's actually, I mean, I'm thinking that's actually going to be a pretty good race as well. Right now, Weber and Dalby separating Rubber and Bertrand with the poor energy cars.
Another thing to note here is that Rubber and Weber are top two currently. They are both running the medium compound with the next two drivers, Dalby and Bertrand. They'll be running the soft compound. As like I've said, the softs are faster, but the mediums have better feedback, which means that you might be able to go as fast as, if not faster than, cars in the softs, but we'll just see how setups and performance goes as the race progresses.
Yeah, the other thing with the mediums is if you like a car that slides a bit more, they should be a bit harder and should let you get away with a bit more before they go off. The softs, once you overdrive them, should fall away very rapidly.
Now, Rubber, who we're following right now, currently the top with a 1:47.97.
Yeah, the first driver in the 47s.
Yes, it's we're getting there definitely. Already going faster than the LMP lap record, which was set by former Formula One driver Paul di Resta, who now does DTM and Formula One commentary. He set a 1:48.579 as Rubber goes purple in Sector 1.
He's looking pretty good. I really haven't seen him make any missteps so far. And he's clearly pushing pretty hard if he's continuing to improve upon his quickest time.
With Rubber going purple in Sector 2, hopefully this will translate to good race performance and he'll be able to do what he did in Road America and just very slightly just beat out Eric Axelsen to take first place. So that'll be interesting to see. With Rubber coming down the main straight, purple in both sectors as he crosses the line. He goes just faster with a 1:47.604.
Yeah, I know I was saying that the field seemed close, but Rubber's about 7/10 up on. Actually, never mind. Weber just set a 147.734, so they are still only about 13 hundredths of a second off. That's pretty close. We've got about 7 minutes left in qualifying, so they've got a chance to probably get another run in or two, even if they decide to change tires and set up a bit.
Yes. Weber, meanwhile, has a return to the pits, and he's actually switching to the soft compound to see if he can experiment with possibly getting some extra time shaved. Regardless, Rubber is committed. He's going to stay on those medium tires as he's gone purple in Sector 1, and hopefully will be able to go purple in Sector 2 as he goes a little bit off track towards the main straight.
Yeah, Rubber just keeps going faster and faster on that same set of tires.
Now, although the speed, as he goes purple in Sector 2, is shaving more time off, and hopefully what we can see with this is that he's able to use these tires to get the most out of his performance, but at the same time be conservative about making the tire life last. You can make a strategy work if on several pit stops, but you have to make sure that you're putting 110% throughout it all.
This is a 2.5 hour race, but realistically these days, okay, 1.5, sorry. These days, really, you're going flat out start to finish. There really isn't any time to ease off anymore. The cars are reliable. The tires hold up far better than they used to. Really, the distinguishing factor ends up being the drivers.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the car is, it's the driver that matters, as Weber...
Indeed.
Weber is doing his best now as he's, I believe he's on his out lap with the soft tires. He'll be able to probably squeeze in 1 or 2 laps. Rubber, meanwhile, has returned to the pits, probably for a fresh set of mediums. He goes faster
Indeed.
with a 147.217.
Yeah, and Rubber is back on track with a new set of mediums, just heading up the back straight towards turn 4. Weber is starting his first flying lap on the softs, and we'll have to see how he can make it.
On board with Weber, he goes a little bit wide through the couple of turns. He goes down the back straight, pushing that thing all the way up to nearly 6 gears. He brakes hard for the corner. Now, to be noted, the transition where the track switches over to the outer circuit between turn 4 and 5, we do have track limits that are being monitored by the stewards.
Yes, track limits there have actually been a concern in Formula One, I believe, as well. It's an easy place to run a bit wide if you're pushing very hard and make up a ton of time with very little impact to the car. As Weber pulls down the back straight towards turn 11, looking pretty good so far. Fairly drama-free qualifying session so far. I haven't really seen anybody going off track that far, having any sort of spin or other drama. If they have, it's been off the cameras, so you know, pretty clean.
Simo Dalby, meanwhile, his name lit up red there as his time was invalidated. I'm assuming Weber's out lap was a little longer than expected, as he's actually on his hot lap now.
That's interesting because I thought he'd already been on one lap. Maybe he just took some extra time and warmed the tires up a bit more.
Probably, yeah. Rubber, meanwhile, going yellow in Sector 1, just 1/100th of a second slower than his personal best, but hopefully he can translate that into some purples through Sectors 2 and 3.
Weber's actually pretty consistent here. He's been just kind of knocking a couple tenths off here and there, and it adds up to a whole lot at the end of the lap.
Absolutely. Rubber 9 goes yellow in Sector 2 with only 0.008 off his sector time, so although it's slower, it is still consistent, and there's still time to be made up through these last couple of corners, but he's really going to have to cut it close.
Making some time up from his first sector time, so he's doing pretty well there. But I'm probably more interested in seeing...
Rubber 9 goes even faster, a 147.190.
Yeah, there we go. I think he's just getting the tires more in their zone and just continuing to improve. As Weber comes off of final turn, let's see what he can come up with. And I do not believe he actually went any faster. He actually put out a 148.13.
Ooh.
So he's almost half a second slower on the... Actually, he's exactly half a second slower on the soft tires than he was on the medium.
Interesting.
But he does seem to have time for one more final lap, so maybe he can make it up and give us some drama at the end of the session.
Weber's teammate Simo Dalby going purple in Sector 1, green in Sector 2. See if they can translate this into Sector 3. And it moves him up, but not by much. It's a 147.839. Although he was green in Sectors 2 and 3, it's not enough to push him, although he is right behind his teammate, Weber.
He is almost a second behind his, almost a second ahead of his previous time. So that is a fairly substantial improvement for him, and it does put our top three cars within the 147s.
With qualifying coming to a close, we just have Rubber and Weber out for their laps, and that'll pretty much bring it up to the end. Weber, meanwhile, purple in Sector 1, green in Sector 2, goes very wide. Hopefully he'll still be able to have a clean lap with that. If not, he'll still be P2.
Believe he ran wide at the end of turn 13 as well. We'll see if that lap stands.
Yeah. As Weber comes down the main straight here.
And does not improve on his time. He did do a 147.579.
I think it was invalidated, though.
I'm not seeing that on my timing screen, no.
Yeah, probably was invalidated. Rubber, meanwhile, on his absolute last attempt at qualifying, goes purple in Sector 1.
Rubber keeps going faster. I'm pretty impressed so far.
He's doing the best to get as much performance as possible out of his tires. Coming in through turns 11 and 12 here. He's got to keep his foot down to the floor. Goes yellow through Sector 2. Coming out of turn 13, he keeps two wheels on the curb as he's going full throttle down towards turn 14.
It's looking like just another nice clean lap for Rubber. Not too bad.
Coming down
round
the
15 and pulls into the pits. He really doesn't need to try to turn a better lap. He's already in the lead by over half a second on pole. Nice job by him. Nice clean qualifying session.
It'll be a very nice job.
Nice by everybody, really. I don't think I saw maybe then a lockup or two. Nice smooth driving from everyone.
And with that, that brings qualifying to an end. And while we're in this transition between qualifying and race, and as you've obviously seen on some of the above advertisements, it's time to talk about our sponsor, zap-hosing. Zap-hosing has been sponsoring our race servers for quite a significant amount of time. They're VPS servers. Their customer service has always been amazing, and they offered us a server at first, and were kind enough to upgrade us to a VPS server, and it's been really great ever since. It's easy to access the web client, it's super fast and very reliable. If you want a game server or even a VPS, go to our affiliate link, zap-hosting.com/AssettoFriends, and use the code AssettoFriends-A-3772 for 20% off your purchase of a game server or a VPS. And they often have other deals going on, so even better, you could probably save even more. Once again, that's Zap Hosting. You can find our affiliate link at zap-hosting.com/AssettoFriends. So hopefully we'll be looking at a good race here during this transition period. I'm looking at the drivers who are comfortable with mid-race interviews, and we have a long list of drivers. So we'll be able to get their opinions and get their feedback as this race progresses. So it'll be really great to hear from drivers all up and down the grid.
Yeah, so to recap, in LMP2 we have Rubber 9 on pole, Lucas Weber in second, and Simo Dalby in third. And in the GT2 class, it's a Corvette front row lockout, Sunil Naik in fifth, Eric Axelson in sixth, and Jack Olivier in seventh.
It'll make for go on.
Excuse me, the Scirocco's do appear to have a 50 kilogram added weight for balance of performance here.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have a little bit of ballast to hold them down.
Good looking cars. We really don't see Volkswagen Scirocco's in the United States. I don't believe they've been imported since the 1980s. So these newer cars are pretty neat.
Yeah. There has, according to Volkswagen, there really has not really been much of an interest in having the Volkswagen Scirocco, the newer one, exported to the United States. So unfortunately, it's a car we won't get until the 25-year limit.
Yep. So looks like we have cars on the grid now. Looks like the majority of drivers have made it out. Looks like the McLaren LMP2 team on pole with Rubber, as expected, and second with Lucas Weber for Poor Energy Racing.
And another interesting thing to note is that this race will be the first implementation of a full safety car, or so I've been told. Before that, it's been a virtual safety car, but it will now be a full safety car if any incidents are to happen. Here is a look down the grid. We only have 4 LMP cars, but we have a quite packed GT2 grid.
It's pretty light on the LMP2 cars, but I think we'll still have a good battle. Seems as though Rubber and Weber, I mean, they're first and second in the standings. They're, the two quickest drivers at the moment across the season. So it's nice to see both of them in the field, and hopefully they can give us a good LMP battle as well as the battles behind in GT2.
Yeah, up front with the LMPs, it's going to be a team versus team battle, and of course with the GT2s, Senil and Axelson's team doing a nice front row lockout. In fact, really, it's a front row lockout for the first 2 rows, just Corvettes.
Let's seem quick here. I would wonder if it's due to the long straights and the medium speed corners. They should be pretty good in the race, but I'm hoping the Scirocco's can give them a good challenge over that hour and a half.
I sure hope so.
The only drivers I see at the moment on the soft tire are Paulson, Brooks, Labiak, and a couple guys farther down the grid, I Redacted and TC Gaming.
Looks like that, yeah.
So the majority of drivers choosing the medium to start the race on, and that may play into things a bit later if Paulson and Brooks can run longer than the cars in front, but we'll just have to see how that goes.
Meanwhile, we're just waiting on our buddies at Race Control to get things started. Hello, Jens.
Hello, Trevor, can you go like into the pitch?
Into the pits?
Yeah.
Are we not in the pits?
One of you isn't.
Alright, I've just gone back to the pits.
I see that now, yes.
Oh yeah, that's probably why we got the Audis in the back. Oh, or disconnect.
Hey,
Anyway, thanks.
do not have a wheel hooked up. I may have to do that to move over.
Anyways, that was our resident Dutchman, Jens Beetsma, at Race Control here. With Race Control giving the go-ahead, we have the lights as the LMP cars will begin the lap for their rolling start. As Jens Beetsma in the safety car roars ahead. The LMP cars get underway for their rolling start, followed by the GT cars.
Looks like everybody has made it away successfully.
Right on board with the safety car here, Jens Beetsma in the safety car, who is leading the pack of LMPs behind, the McLaren up front, the unexpected error on my screen that has crashed the game.
It's not good.
That is not good. I'm not entirely sure what is going on, but we'll power through this.
I'm actually currently restarting so I can hopefully rejoin in the pits rather than on the grid.
It'll auto put you on the grid, but you just have to teleport yourself back to the pits. If you keep having problems, I have something else that I use. It's called like auto start, and it just sort of forces you to stay in the pits. But yeah. I'd like to apologize for our rather broken broadcast, but I promise you this is not what it looks like.
Yeah, it feels like we're having just a couple of minor difficulties here, but I'm sure we'll get it straightened out soon enough.
Anyways, we're back in live regardless as Jens continues to lead the pack around in the rather unorthodox Audi R8 safety car. It's still a fast car, can still be a safety car. There have been worse.
You know, the R8, in this case, I believe it's actually the V10 model.
Yeah.
It's a pretty quick car in its own right. Jens is probably going pretty flat out, and the cars behind him look like they're just sitting still. Just shows you how quick these race cars are compared to a quick street car.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Jens is putting his foot to the floor to put a little bit of a gap between them and the cars, as one of the Scirocco's in the back is doing some slaloms to weave the tires. I don't think I mean weave the tires, I think I mean warm the tires, as they're putting their foot to the floor as across the line we go to begin this race.
Yep. Looks like a green flag, so Rubber getting a pretty good gap between him and Weber down to turn 1. And holds it into turn 1, makes it through cleanly. GT Pack approaching turn 1 as well. Looks like we may have a pass for second. Cars go wide here.
Yeah, with Nike and Axelson, that has given the lead to Olivier, as he's just going past the two of them in the Corvette, leading a huge pack of cars as they go towards the for the next couple of corners.
Yeah, the Bro Racing car taking the lead there, passing 2 cars into turn 1. Looks like the Scirocco's have gotten ahead of one of the other Corvettes as well. Bit of spiciness back in the GT pack. Daniel Ricciardo up to 8th. Labiak already up to 9th. I believe he started 11th, so the soft tires must be working pretty well for him so far.
Yeah. A number of the GT cars are running on mediums, but also a large number of them are running on the softs, as Weber has evaporated into the stratosphere.
Getting an error that Weber has disappeared, that's very disappointing. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
I hope so too.
Looks like Rubber is leading Simo Dalby by a couple seconds at least. Bertrand in 3rd in the last of the LMP2 cars. But Olivier looks like pulling out a bit of a gap here to Nake behind him.
Weber, meanwhile, has returned, and of course, for him now, it'll pretty much be a pit lane start as he comes down the pit lane.
Bit of a shame. I was looking forward to the LMP2 race, but we could still have one if Dalby or Bertrand can make up some time here. Olivier about holding his gap to Nake right now. I don't think he's necessarily gaining all that much. But Nake and Axelson, the teammates, holding pretty tight here.
They're holding pretty tight in 5th and 6th. We're riding on board here with the cockpit of Eric Axelson as he's trying every trick in the book to get past his teammates here. Very interesting, diverse makeup of the 2 drivers here. Sanil Naik being of Indian descent and Eric Axelson of Swedish descent. Both of them driving in Bahrain with American cars.
Yeah, I have to say, these Corvettes really do look and sound good around this track. And they are flying.
I do have to say that even though we're only a couple minutes in, I do have to say that Olivier is really the one who is definitely the driver to look out for, taking advantage of an early sort of lock-up and bunch-up of the cars, and seeing how slow they were going, just zips around him and away he goes.
Yeah. Taking full advantage of the situation is something you always need to be aware of as a race driver, and I think he's done a pretty good job so far. Coming down the straight towards turn 14, and Nake and Axelson I don't think are losing
Hang
that
on,
much
we got a
time.
crash.
Uh-oh.
Let me see here. That is iRedacted, who seems to have spun and crashed, putting him down to P16. Doesn't look like it seems to be any serious. I can't note any visual or mechanical damage, so hopefully whatever it was incidental and hopefully not malicious.
Yeah, it's somewhat disappointing for him on the soft tires. Was kind of expecting him to move up a bit early, and seems like he's not going to be able to do that. Crab Paulson, on the other hand, is up to 8th on the softs, so he's taking full advantage of the opportunities that those provide him.
Crab in between the two Scirocco's and the very nice looking Ryanair themed Corvette. He's doing everything he can to get past Daniel Ricciardo, who, if I recall correctly, is currently the fastest Scirocco in the GT2 pack.
That would be correct, Rail. Ricciardo in 7th overall, and I believe 4th in GT2.
That's very impressive work.
Yeah, he's made it up at least a couple places since the start, so nice job for him. Up at the front, Rubber's pulled out nearly the entire front straight on his rival Dalby in 2nd, who's only a couple tenths, maybe a second ahead of Bertrand in 3rd. So a bit of a gap building up there in LMP2, but GT2 still staying pretty close. So we'll have to see how that bears out. Looks like the LMP2 cars are running in the 148s, 149s, and about 10 seconds slower for the GT2 cars. Looks to be Paulson all over the back of Daniel Ricciardo here, trying to make a move up from those soft tires before they go away. Really pushing him down into turn 8. Have to see if Paulson can get any closer through the 910 complex.
See if he can maybe brake late and get past. Ooh, that's Paulson going wide.
I think Paulson went sideways.
Yeah, that is him wide and spun as he rather conservatively cuts the corner. That's going to put him down a couple of places as the Scirocco's go past.
Now, luckily for him, it wasn't too much, but it's still disappointing. Looks like Josh Brooks now is up to 8th on the soft tire in the Scirocco, so he'll be the next to take a crack at Ricciardo.
Crab, meanwhile, is going for the pass on Matty Labiak to get back what he's lost, as it doesn't look like they touched, but they definitely will be fighting coming down the main straight here as they're going wheel to wheel.
Yeah, this is great action.
Absolutely.
Looks like the Corvette might just be a little bit quicker in a straight line. Just have to see if they can both make a clean break into turn 1.
Here they go.
Nice driving from both. And Paulson goes to the right, tries to... Nope, can't make it up, pull it off. Just not quite the drive out of turn 2. Not sure if he can make an attempt into 3. Nope.
He's doing his best to stay right on the tail of Labiak, though. He's trying at every single corner to get a pass, and Labiak is holding his line. I would say he's defending his position rather well.
Yeah, they're both not getting too overheated. Just, driving well. Labiak locks up a bit into turn 8. But I don't think that will affect him that much into 9 and 10. See if Paulson can make it cleanly through this turn this time. And he does.
Looks like it, yep.
coming down to 11 here, and I think he's dropped off a bit. I'd wonder if his tires after 6 laps are maybe just starting to fall off with how hard he's been pushing. I do love the backfire from the Corvette on downshifts into corners.
Oh yeah, it really makes for a nice view.
I think he got a bit closer under braking there into 14. See if he can out-drag him down the main straight. The line. Getting pretty close here. I think he might have him.
Going for the side. He's braking late, and he's through. Grab.
And he's got him. Can Labiak come back? And does not look like it.
It looked like he might have been able to do it to the switchback, but to no avail. With that, Crab moves up into P9 as the sun is beginning to set here in Bahrain. We're going to switch on board with Rubber, who currently is has a significant lead over Simo Dalby as he puts in not a new fastest lap, but the current fastest lap is in the 147 range, so he's definitely putting in a fantastic performance in the McLaren LMP.
Yeah, Rubber's not really shown any signs of weakness in this race yet. I haven't seen any mistakes from him. He's just up there and just flying low and looks like having a good time. Just putting in the laps.
Oh, hello. What was that? Hang on, there was a...
Looked like a Scirocco sideways in the middle of the track. That's not normal.
Looks like it was BD 1999 in the very red and blue Scirocco.
I would like to point out that Lucas Weber is still, I think he's still in the lead lap, and he's actually putting out 148.47 lap times on his last lap. So he's should be making up some ground, should be passing at least a couple of the GT2 cars here in a moment.
Impressive.
So without a safety car, he may not be able to make it for a win, but he's at least going to make up a ton of time in the meantime.
At the very least, if he's able to net himself a few points, he'll be able to salvage what hopefully was... Well, salvage what was a mistake that was completely out of his own control.
And up in the front, I think Bertrand may have spun. He's in with a couple of GT2 cars. He may be lapping them as well. Yeah, I think he's just lapping a couple of the back runners, back markers in GT2. As Rubber approaches one of the Scirocco's.
Rubber on the back here, looks like BD 1999 again, as he'll be trailing him and two of the Corvettes down the main straight as he goes for the overtake. Gives him a mile. He gives them an inch, they give him a mile as he goes through.
And nice, easy overtake on the straight. It's nice to have those when you're in an LMP2 car.
Mm-hmm. Overtakes the Corvette, coming flat through the corners here.
It really shows you just how much faster those cars are.
Yeah, even without looking at the raw telemetry itself, you can just see it, especially how fast he's coming up on the Corvette here, coming into turns 14 and 15.
That's why when you come across a GT2 car in a corner, it may be a bit difficult if you cannot pass them with the extra grip you have. You may have to take a corner or two and lose a couple seconds. Which may not matter to the next class of car, but it definitely matters within your own class.
Especially if it's a class you're fighting your hardest for.
Oh yeah. Seem like we have any DNFs at the moment, so that's pretty good when we've made it to this point with all of the, I believe, 18 cars still on track.
I believe so, yeah.
10 laps in from the LMP2 cars and 9 laps in from the entire, excuse me, 10 laps in from the LMP2 cars at the head of the field, and 9 laps from the GT2 cars and Weber, who has moved up to 14th overall.
Weber is definitely on the comeback here, as Rubber seems to have a bit of trouble getting past one of the Scirocco's here as he's coming towards the Corvettes.
Looks like he's coming up on one of the Ryanair Corvettes, possibly Paulson.
It is Paulson as he's going for the overtake and will be riding
easy drive-by.
Riding right on the tail end of Josh Brooks coming in towards the first corner in the switchback. Now, will Brooks give him the space, or will he have to fight through the switchback on his own? It looks like he'll have to fight through the switchback on his own.
He says tank tight for a minute. He's got enough straight line speed to easily overtake him by turn 3, or turn 4.
And with that,
not too difficult. In that case, he will be coming up on the rear of Daniel Ricciardo shortly. Who has moved up a couple places, and he's on the medium tire. The farthest forward of the soft tire drivers is still Josh Brooks in 8th and Crab Paulson in 9th. So they've made up a couple places, and we'll have to see if they can make it to the first round of pit stops and hold those.
Hopefully they'll be able to, hopefully with some of these drivers, with the leads they have, they'll be able to nurse the tires to make it potentially last longer, so they can keep to a 3-stop strategy and not worry about possibly doing a 4-stop as Rubber goes past Sunil on the back straight.
Yeah, Rubber's just slicing through these GT2 cars. Not too much drama. Doesn't look like he's had really a close call yet. Really would be a shame if an incident with another class car were to mess up his day, but looks like he's got things fully under control.
Well, if an accident were to happen, it would be, it'd definitely help Weber out, who is now up to P11, actually.
Yeah, still P4 in class for Weber, but he's up to 11th overall. Should only have about 7 cars to pass before he's passed the entire GT2 field.
So he definitely has some work to do, but it's not like it'll be a making a mountain out of a molehill.
So far, 12 laps in, haven't had a safety car. I believe we've only seen 1 or 2 minor off-track excursions, so nice clean race.
It's been a very clean race so far, I can say that, and it's definitely nice. Hopefully we can go with this entire race without having a safety car. That'd be nice.
A safety car would help Weber once he has made it past the GT2 field. So that might be an interesting theory if it were to occur, but not going to hold my breath for it.
Yeah.
I think there's enough other action through the field that we don't need to rely on a safety car this time.
Weber, meanwhile, has gotten past Labiak to get up to P10 as he's putting his foot down to get past a couple more of the trailing GT2 cars here.
Weber's coming up on the back of Paulson and passing him, making it look easy. Actually, as a matter of fact, Weber would not be on the tail of the LMP pack because he's a lap down. So that would not affect, a safety car would not affect the order in any way, which is fine by me.
Weber, meanwhile, breezing past Josh Brooks as he moves up into P8. He'll be tailing Daniel Ricciardo on the back straight here. Daniel Ricciardo on the still on the medium tires with the Volkswagen Scirocco.
Yeah, he's been having a pretty good race. Seems to be holding his own versus everyone else. He's stayed off a couple of challenges from cars in the soft tire and hasn't really gotten out of line at all.
Ricciardo, meanwhile, in between the LMPs of Charles Bertrand and, I believe, Simo Dalby. Nope, I spoke too soon. That's actually Weber.
Yeah, that's Weber a lap down to Bertrand. But, no, Ricciardo's having a good race.
Ricciardo's having a fantastic race.
Well, he finished 4th at Daytona, so looks like he's holding up that pace here as well.
Yeah. Daniel Ricciardo, this actually being his second race of the season that he's participated in. He had a DNF at the first round, a DNS at Road America, and as you said, finished 4th place in Daytona, which is fantastic, especially in the GT2 class.
And it is worth noting that Olivier, who is leading the GT2 category in this race, did win the last race at Daytona, so his pace is clearly not a fluke.
And hopefully that pace can translate to possibly taking home a second win, but we'll just have to see as time goes on. Olivier currently 6th in the points with 54, 2 DNSs, and then a first place plus pole position at Daytona to put him very high up in the standings. Rubber, meanwhile, is in, frankly, a league of his own as he has a significant advantage, a significant time advantage against Simo Dalby, currently P2, and quite a... Go on.
Rubber's just getting better and better. He, last lap, actually put in a 147.36, which is almost as quick as his qualifying time.
It's impressive. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually manages to match or get close to his qualifying time with the way he's been just nursing these tires along, the mediums even.
Well, if you remember, his best time in qualifying was actually on a medium as well over Faber, so I think that at this point the medium is definitely as quick as the soft. Clearly shouldn't have any problems with tire wear compared to the softs, not that it's going to matter with the LMP2 cars, but he appears to be almost 26 seconds ahead of Bertrand. Ahead of Dalby. Looks like I'm not getting Dalby showing up on my timing screen. but just completely gapping the field here. Doing a great job. No, Rubber's having a pretty good race. I'm impressed.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say probably, if it's showing Bertrand at 25, I can see him in the background there. I'd venture to say Rubber easily has at least a 20-second lead over Dalby and Bertrand. Weber, meanwhile, is on the comeback of a lifetime. Even though he's one lap down, he is P4, which means he comes back into the class that he fell out of.
Yes, he has come back to the tail end of the LMP2 pack, and if I'm correct here, I think he may have actually passed Bertrand. Kind of difficult to actually see this because I don't have an active track map with the cars on it, but I believe, yes, he has actually unlapped himself from Bertrand, so he's at the end of the lap, the tail end of the lap from Bertrand, less than a lap between them. We've got an hour to go. I'd be curious if Weber can actually catch up and maybe get a third place in LMP2 out of this.
It would definitely help him in the points, and I think it would definitely make for a great post-race interview if he manages to pull off something like that.
Yeah, but we're about 25 minutes in, and we've got 16 laps on the LMP2 cars, so we should have about 30 minutes, or 30 laps, maybe 35 in the next hour. He's pulling out about 2 seconds a lap, so I don't think it's quite close to the current pace, but we'll have to see how they can each hold up that pace over the next, 30 laps.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
Rubber, meanwhile, has dropped his last lap down to a 1:47.305, so he's going even quicker. Looks like he's gained a couple more seconds on Dalby and Bertrand. Meanwhile, back in GT2, looks like Olivier is still leading the class. Axelsen and Nake are directly behind him. Not really much of a gap there.
Yeah, it's definitely a very close gap between the cars of Axelsen and Nike, but Olivier is simply running away with it. As you probably know, the first lap he took advantage of Axelsen and Nike getting bunched up and going slower than normal. On the back straight towards, on the back straight towards turn 4, he just whips around the two of them, and he's basically been in the lead of the GT2 pack since the beginning of the race, and it's amazing performance from him, I must say.
Yeah, it's been good. We'll have to see how his pit stop goes with Axelsen's and see if Axelsen can have a better in and out lap and maybe make up some of that time. I think Axelsen's honestly been doing a pretty good job to stay within a couple seconds of him the whole race. He has not let Olivier just disappear into the distance.
He really has been doing everything he can to just stay right on the tail, and I have to say that is definitely dedication. That these drivers are putting through absolute dedication. And there goes the game crashing again.
Alright, well, I will try to describe things as we go. Looks like Axelsen may be actually closing the gap a bit on Olivier. I'm not sure if Olivier's losing a bit of time or if Axelsen's making it up. But they're definitely within 1 or 2 car lengths coming down the back straight towards turn 11. Axelsen, I don't think is close enough to make a move through this sequence of corners, but he might be by turn 1. Axelsen takes a slightly narrower line through turn 11. Coming into 12. and 13. And now down the second to last straight. Axelson has definitely gapped his teammate Nike a bit, coming down to the turn 14-15 complex. Axelson again running a bit narrower than Olivier through there.
It's definitely with these Corvettes, these three Corvettes all bunched up close to each other. It does make for some very close racing as we have our first pitter. That is Crab Paulson going into the pits here. I'm going to pull Crab in for a quick interview. Oh, I don't have the perms. Okay. Well.
Yeah, Crab on the soft tires, so his first pit stop on lap 17.
Oh, we'll figure that out as time goes on. Anyways, going back to the race here. Rubber also coming in for his stop here. So we might be looking at possibly a nice mixed strategy of things here.
Yeah, looks like Crab has returned to the track on soft tires. So looks like he prefers the softs, and I think he came back in 13th, so lost, I believe, 4 or 5 places.
It looks like they're going to be double stacking the McLarens as Rubber goes out. Bertrand comes right after.
Rubber pulls out of the pit lane. Not too long for his teammate to have to wait. And Rubber stays on the medium tire as well, which leaves the first runner on the softs as Josh Brooks in 9th overall.
As we come down to less than an hour for our race here, the current standings go so far. In the LMP class, we have Rubber P1, Simo Dalby P2, Bertrand P3, and Weber one lap down in P4. With the GT2 class, we have Jack Olivier, who is still leading in the Corvette here, followed by Axelson, Nike, Ricardo, Brooks, Labiak, and continuing on. Just a big crowd of GT2 cars just following right behind the Corvette. Honestly, it's more or less like traffic for the LMP cars as they try to navigate through the field.
Yeah, the LMP2 cars have been doing a very good job of lapping the GT2 cars without really getting too close to either of them. But then again, the GT2 cars have been doing a good job of giving them room.
Yeah, they've been giving a very respectful and very acceptable amount of space on both classes, actually.
Axelson getting very, very close to Olivier here. We'll have to see if Rubber passing the two of them. Rubber actually does not make it up in front of them before turn 11 and has to hold back for another couple sequence of turns. Yeah, I think Axelson definitely wants by, and I think he has the tires at the moment to do it, but just has not managed to make it stick yet. And unfortunately, it looks as though Weber has disconnected from the server again.
Seems these technical problems have been a bit of a drain, and personally I can understand. The game's crashed like 3 times, and I don't know why, but we're still doing this, so it is what it is. Anyways, with that puts Olivier up to P4 and still leading the pack in the GT2 class.
As Weber loads back in. Looks like he only dropped 10th overall, so he should make quick work of passing the GT2 cars again. It seems as though Olivier has a bit more of a low downforce package on his Corvette, and maybe Axelson just has a bit more downforce. Axelson tends to catch up very well through the sharper infield corners, but around the outside with long straights, Olivier pulls out a decent gap.
It really shows you the areas where Axelson and Olivier can really trade punches at, and he might be able to use some of these sharper corners that Bahrain has to their advantage.
To wonder if Axelson, as Axelson takes a quick look out to the left of Olivier into 11, but not close enough to get it done. It'll be interesting if Axelson does manage to get by, if he can maintain the lead down that front straight.
Yeah, especially with the slipstreaming he's doing on Olivier. He's doing his best to stay right in the slipstream and try to avoid any dirty air that might have a bit of a negative effect on his performance.
Now, this is a good battle. I've been very happy for the last probably 10 laps now. Just watching them, they've been staying close. Neither of them has really made a mistake. Just some nice, clean racing, maybe a second or two apart.
If that.
Coming down towards turn 1, and Axelson closes back up a bit. Takes a bit different line on a couple of these corners, so he's finding some grip that maybe Olivier isn't. Nice clean down into 4. Axelson closing back up through the 5, 6, 7, 8 complex, but not close enough yet.
It's amazing to see that the EB Racing Corvettes here of Eric Axelson and Sanil Naik have been, a little bit squirrely there under braking, but they have been right on the tail of Olivier this entire time, and, it's a decent amount of space, and they're doing everything they can to get past, but even though they can't get past, they're still waiting right on the tail for Olivier to make some sort of mistake that they can capitalize on.
Really all been very clean this race. Anybody that makes a mistake is going to fall out of this pack so quickly, but they haven't. They've just been putting in the laps. There looks like below 2 minutes on all of them, and Nike actually, his last lap was a 1:58.7. So they're holding together. Some good racing for us. It's good to see.
Coming down the main straight here, it's the 3 Corvettes followed by 3 Scirocco's. You can definitely tell the gaps between them, but again, that's just sort of the varying compounds and strategies that these drivers are on.
Yeah, Ricardo and Josh Brooks having a little bit of a battle here. Looks like Brooks has managed to keep his soft tires working for so far 21 laps without them falling off too much. Rubber already on lap 23, and the majority of the GT2 pack has completed 21.
Alrighty. Josh Brooks and Daniel Ricciardo, 2 of the big wigs at Assetto Friends, both in a little bit of a battle of their own in the competing Scirocco's in 7th and 8th respectively.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that the Corvettes have pulled away a bit, but it is nice to see the cars so close back in the field. And they're still maintaining pretty close to the battle between first, second, and third in GT2 as well. So if the guys up in front have any sort of tussle, I think these guys will be right on their bumper for the kill.
Speaking of right on their bumper, Weber coming back once again after a second technical problem, going for the overtake on Josh Brooks and Daniel Ricciardo going into the first corner here. And he's doing past him. I think they might have bumped a little bit, but it doesn't look like it.
And I think Brooks might have, tries to make a move on Ricciardo into 4, but just not quite close enough yet. Through 8, some nice clean corners there. He might be close enough into 9 and 10.
He might be able to go for the overtake, but Daniel's doing everything in his power to block him. He's not blocking, but defending, but...
They both braked about as late as I think they could have. That was some really nice moves through there.
Meanwhile, Weber making quick work of both Olivier and Axelsen as they were getting a little close in the back straight.
I think he's having a bit more difficult time making his way through the field this time now that a couple of the cars are a bit closer and having smaller battles of their own.
Yeah, that is something I have noticed.
Yeah, it's difficult giving somebody room to pass in the middle of a section where you don't want to give up any speed or time of your own. So that may be more difficult, but it looks like Weber's made it through the GT2 frontrunners and proceeded on down the road.
Axelsen getting mere inches away from going for the overtake on Olivier, and he might be able to pull it off on this back straight as he's riding right on the tail of him. Whether or not it'll be enough is anyone's guess as they go through next bit of corners here. Still staying right on his tail, trying everything he can to get past. But it looks to be no avail.
Yeah, I don't know what Axelsen's changed. Maybe his exit off of the final corner is a bit better than it was, but he seems to be doing a bit better down the straights than he was for the majority of the laps there.
Mm-hmm.
Almost coming on side of Olivier here, but doesn't quite make it stick. Thinks better of it. Pulls up right behind him out of 10. And pulls to the outside.
Ooh, Olivier is doing his best to keep him restrained as he's doing a good bit of blocking here, I must say.
See anything too egregious. He tends to make a move. Unfortunately, that move was in the direction that Axelsen was trying to pass on, but they've both been pretty clean so far. Down into turn 14. Axelsen trying to get a good run out of this corner. And they both get about the same run, so see if Axelsen can slipstream him towards the end of the front straight at all. Yeah, Axelsen looks like made up about 2/10 that last lap on Olivier, so he's definitely closing in more consistently than he was. But I'm not sure if 2/10 is enough to make a pass rail.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's a small gap in time, but still, these small gaps in time can really add up dividends.
Farther back in the field, looks like Daniel Ricciardo has made a pit stop from 7th place and come back out in 10th, again on the medium tire. Leaving Josh Brooks to pull into 8th position overall. We'll have to see how the Corvettes manage with their pit stops and if the Scirocco's get any closer.
Meanwhile, further up the field, Rubber goes for overtake on one of the Scirocco's here as he is continuing to widen his lead here between the other LMP cars. Charles Bertrand, a good 51 seconds down.
Yeah, running away with this. He's about a second and a half quicker than the other LMP cars on average. Lapping as he does not go into the pits. He's just pulling aside for a nice clean run without interfering with the GT2 lead battle. I'll give him credit for that. As Axelson pulls out and almost makes it alongside Olivier, but just can't quite make it that time.
Olivier is doing everything in his power to block Axelson as Axelson is trying everything in his power to get around as they're both continuing to trade punches through these corners here. It really is some great wheel-to-wheel action.
I'm enjoying watching the two different styles. Axelson doesn't seem to be hunting quite as much. He'll typically make one or two moves, whereas Olivier, despite still staying in the lead, he's playing a very good defensive game. He's all over the track. He has the widest Corvette in all of Bahrain today. And Axelson just can't find the room. And again, 2/10 quicker that last lap, but doesn't have any track position to show for it.
If he is able to get past Olivier, I think we'll definitely start to see some much faster lap times. Olivier is definitely, I would definitely say that he's the cork in the bottle right now for Axelson at least. I don't know about Nike. He might be able to fight his way past, but we'll just have to see as time progresses.
Yeah, I don't believe any of the GT2 leaders have actually pitted yet, so looks like they might be trying for maybe a one-stop race here. As it looks like they all come in.
Yep, they're all... Oh, no. Axelson isn't going in.
No, Axelson's going to try to leapfrog him in the pits. Okay, this makes things a bit more interesting. So let's see if Axelson can make up enough time without Olivier restraining him to come out of the pits in the lead.
Senil Nike, meanwhile, also going in for the pits here, so they won't be double stacking, which is a great strategy for pitting.
Yeah, no, it's a very good decision on their part. Like Olivier and Nike still in the pits as Axelson rolls up through, I believe, turn 5. Coming down towards turn 8.
Meanwhile,
Olivier back on the track, still on the medium compound tire. We'll have to see if Axelson can make it more than another lap, or if he can make it 2 or 3.
yeah.
Try to build that gap a bit before his own stop. But that's past the midway point of the race, so I would not expect any of these drivers to make another stop unless they
Absolutely
really
have
flat
to.
spot a tire.
Now that too. Flat spot a tire, or they get some damage. But no, it's actually kind of interesting compared to previous races. You know, there hasn't been any accidents, there hasn't been any big collisions, there hasn't been, you know, the safety car or the virtual safety car. Yeah, our race controller Jens Beatsma remarking that, quote, race control is boring. I don't blame him. Axelson, meanwhile, is diving into the pits here. Axelson in the pits will ride on board with Olivier here as he's flying down the back straight. He might be able to possibly leapfrog Axelson in the pits, but we'll have to see.
It's going to be really close, Rail. I think it's going to be really tight out of the pits.
It is going to be really tight out of the pits.
As Olivier comes around the final corner, Axelson just getting away from his pit stall now. And approaching the end of the pit lane. As Olivier goes flying by. So Axelson still slightly behind him with one of the LMP2 McLarens in between.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if Axelson can catch up a bit. He actually lost a bit of time, but he still stayed ahead of his teammate Nike.
So, although it wasn't 100% what they were looking for in terms of leapfrogging in the pits, in terms of strategy, it's definitely working for Axelson's favor.
Honestly disappointed that with the extra clean air without Olivier in front, he really wasn't able to make up time. Olivier might have just lost a bit of time letting this LMP2 car by in turn 8, but I think Axelson did as well, running a bit wide on cold tires.
Also worth noticing that even though they haven't pitted, Matty Labiak has a comfortable lead over the GT2 cars as he leapfrogged them in the pits, but Labiak has not pitted yet, so more than likely he's going to have to build a significant amount of time if he wants to keep said lead.
A good job with 27 laps on those soft tires.
Oh, absolutely.
He's turning in 1:59 second laps, so that's not too shabby.
Meanwhile,
And looking at some times here, I think Axelson's outlap may have been a bit slower, but I'm not sure if his pit position or Olivier's were before the before the start finish line or not.
and speaking of pits, Labiak is in the pits, so that'll be Olivier, Axelson, Nike, Brooks, and the rest of them will be leapfrogging him in the pits here.
Yeah, that'll probably drop Labiak down at least 5 places. The GT2 field's still pretty close.
Yeah.
His in-lap was pretty good, though, at 2:01. So let's see here. Olivier... Axelson closing in just a bit again. Olivier's last lap only a 2:05 second. So I think Axelson...
Oh, hang on, we just had someone go wide there. That was a bit of an unsafe re-entry there by one of the...
I believe that was one of the Bra Racing cars?
Yeah, it was iRedacted who went wide in the... and because of that, forcing Weber wide with the braking.
Excuse me, that was actually one of the Heinz River Racing cars.
Weber gets behind, not behind, but past them, but now he's getting behind the line of GT2 cars that he has to get past. Interestingly, 1 lap of separation between him and the rest of the LMP field, and 1 lap of separation between him and the rest of the GT2 field.
Meanwhile, Rubber on a league of his own, really. I mean, last lap was a 1:47.5 again. He's just consistently up there in those 1:47s, doing a really good job. I think he's probably on a 2-stop race based on his first pit stop, but that'll we'll just have to see if that is the case.
Honestly, even if he takes the world's longest pit stop, he'll still have plenty of time out. I mean, just comparative to Charles Bertrand, he's 73 seconds up on Bertrand. And probably only a few seconds less on Dalby.
Yeah, 73 seconds is a lot of time. That's in about 30 more seconds he'll actually be lapping third place in both LMP2 and his class and the entire field.
Interesting.
So at this point, Rubber's main challenge is probably just passing lapped traffic. As we approach sunrise in this hour and a half day-long race.
Olivier attempting to go for the pass on Honored Goat, and he does get passed.
Yeah, the LMP2 cars are starting to lap each other now. Axelson actually having a bit of difficulty passing lap traffic in his own car. But he is closing back in on Olivier. Looks like about half a second or maybe a bit more per lap.
Yeah,
So that battle's not over yet. 35 more minutes to see how it turns out. Now, I don't think it's going to ease up at all.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see them continue to trade punches throughout this race. It's been definitely exciting to watch them keep fighting.
Yeah, while I would enjoy potentially cars swapping back and forth at least this much, it is nice to see a car that we know is faster and a car that's defending this well while being a bit slower as well. They're both talents that have to be built up. They're both very good at each of their respective roles in this situation, and it's a close race. That takes two. Looks like we have one of the Scirocco's off on the left out of turn 3.
Axelson, meanwhile, foot to the floor and almost manages to get past Olivier.
Yeah, I can't just make it around the outside at turn 4 there, but doesn't lose any time either, which is important. Down into 8. And Olivier runs just a little bit wide. Axelson's almost alongside here. I don't know if he can make it around the outside, but he thinks better of it.
That's the thing about
Out of
Axelson. He's carefully predicting and planning when he can attempt to make the moves here, and he's doing his best to figure it out. And he's also testing the waters on him as well.
I think it'll be curious to see the last couple laps if Axelson tries to make a bit more of a move. Right now it just seems like he's playing safe, trying to pressure Olivier into a bit of a mistake, take the pass if he can without much risk. And Olivier spins. Olivier loses it.
Oh!
Axelson by. Axelson passed Olivier. I think Olivier actually has lost a position to Josh Brooks in the Scirocco as well.
Yeah, he's lost 2 positions to Axelson and Brooks because of that spin. That's definitely going to cost him, but he might be able to work his way back through the grid.
Yeah, I think Olivier can. I think he's still pretty quick. Interesting that Brooks is up there on the soft. And in a Scirocco that, Nike has fallen back to as far as 5th in LMP, or in GT2, excuse me. But no, Axelson's pressure seems like it has worked out at the moment.
It's definitely paid off for him, but there's still about a half hour to go, so anything can happen still.
Yeah, no, any problem, any mistake by Axelson, if he so much as spins out of a corner, I'm sure with Olivier only a couple seconds back that he'll close right in. And they have Josh Brooks on the soft tire as well, on the Scirocco, maybe 3 or 4 seconds back. So plenty of opportunity to make mistakes and plenty of opportunities for others to take advantage.
Absolutely, and speaking of mistakes, that would be Rubber getting tagged by, I want to say it was Honored Goat, or one of the Corvettes.
Yeah, getting tangled up with a GT2 car, which probably won't change much in the LMP picking order, but
Here we go. It was Denike 2000 who had tagged the rear end of Rubber and spun around here.
and Axelson actually losing a bit of time in that as well. Olivier Brooks is closing back up on his tail end.
So it'll be interesting to see multi. What would be the? Damn it! Game crash again.
All right. So in this case, looks like we've got Brooks following Axelson, maybe a second or two back. Rubber is coming down the main straight. Looks like that has not affected his car as he's not pitting to repair any damage. Brooks, he's 3 or 4 car lengths back. Let's see how that has affected. Rubber lost 6 seconds that last lap, and it looks like Axelson actually was 2 seconds slower than than Brooks. Got a few too many cars that I'm looking at here. But Olivier is actually closing back in on the Axelson and Brooks chain here. So I think Axelson and Olivier may actually be fairly well matched, and Axelson was getting most of his advantage from the slipstream on the straights and maybe just a bit of extra edge in the infield corners. But Brooks is closing right in on him.
Yeah, with the sun now coming out, drivers being more or less being able to see better. We'll see if that can translate into making up time as we enter the final 30 minutes of this race. Eric Axelson and Josh Brooks getting into a bit of a multi-model as
Axelson locked up there.
Yeah.
Brooks closing in a bit more. So Brooks has spent the majority of the race, back behind a couple more cars. Oh man. So Axelson spent the last, hour as the hunter, but now he has become the hunted. Brooks just edging closer and closer through these corners. And on the soft tire, he may just have enough extra grip to pull something off.
He's definitely finding grip where no one else can.
Down into 14, getting a lot closer under braking. The Scirocco at this point in the race just way later braking. Looks to be pretty consistently doing it as well. So we thought GT2 was pretty set there, but it is definitely not done yet. Got 29 minutes still to go. Axelson with a huge lockup into turn 1. Brooks with a better launch. I think he managed to go flat into 2 and 3. Not sure if he gained a ton of time there, but he definitely didn't lose any. Lock up again by Axelson. Down into 5, 6, 7, 8. See if Axelson does not lock up into 8. And down to 9 and 10. Brooks locking his left front. Down the back straight. And I think it may have stabilized there for a bit. Have to see how that goes.
Brooks is definitely trying whatever he can to instill some sort of mistake into Axelson to overtake him.
Yeah, with 28 minutes to go, it's not something that needs to do right now. Oh, I think Axelson got a bit tail happy there, slowing down. Brooks closing up just a little bit more. Have to see how their lap times work out as we come to the line.
Oh, that's Brooks through, I think. That is.
Brooks just, yeah, wow. Brooks pulls it off, makes it stick. Axelson coming back on the straight. Looks like he's got a bit of a slipstream.
Brooks is doing his
Bit of
best
extra
to...
speed.
He's forcing him
Come on,
towards the wall.
guys. Come on. Can they both break into turn 1 cleanly? And Axelson outbrakes himself a bit, but still has the inside line.
And that puts him ahead.
And
Oh,
Axelson gets it back.
wow.
Good, clean racing. That was great.
I'm very happy with how Axelson and Josh Brooks are being... They're being generous, but they're also being very competitive at the same time.
Yeah, they're both leaving each other room, and they're still both 100% on the limit through here. This is what racing's all about.
This is what racing's all about.
2 cars, 2 different cars, different arrangements. The Scirocco, smaller engine, big Corvette V8 front engine, and they're, you know, trading back and forth. You gotta love it.
Now, just to give you an idea on intervals here, Rubber currently has close to about a half a minute lead on Dalby, with Charles Bertrand, the next one, down almost a 1 minute gap behind Rubber himself. He really is just running away with this race and consistently been taking the fastest lap as well.
I don't think we've really had any competition for Rubber. I believe that Weber is back in the race in 9th. So we'll have to see. I believe he'll be coming on the back of Nike at some point pretty soon here.
I believe so, yeah.
I don't know how disconnecting and reconnecting will affect his fuel loads and tire wear, but I would suspect at this point he can probably make it to the end of the race without another pit stop. So he might pick up a couple seconds there. I don't think he'll pick up enough time to finish higher than 4th in LMP2, however.
Well, I would say that his determination and just continuing, much like myself, when the game continues to crash and I have to keep restarting, it's more determination and just wanting to not only put on a good show, but, you know, put in a good race.
I like it. It's a racer's spirit. You don't give up. Even when you're pretty far behind, it is... A lot of the time, it is worth trying to keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy to see him finish 4th. I think based on his pace and how many times he'd come back, I think he probably deserves to some extent a bit more than 4th, but I'll take it. As he passes Nike for 8th overall. Meanwhile, up at the front, Rubber going through the turn 10 complex onto the back straight.
He's doing his best to navigate through the field of GT cars.
Yeah, the GT cars are spread out through pretty much of the track. I don't know if the LMP2 cars can really make it more than a couple corners at this point without having to pass another car. Axelson and Brooks back here still. Brooks still holding within a couple seconds of Axelson, ready to take any advantage that he can get.
Yeah, they're both gonna
Closing
have to,
in a bit with that LMP2 car.
Yeah, they were both gonna have to give way to Rubber regardless.
Yeah. Through turn 4, still all clean, doing a good job there.
Weber, meanwhile, despite these setbacks, is doing a fantastic job of fighting his way through the field here. He's already back up to P6.
I mean, if nothing else, Weber's getting a lot of experience passing GT2 cars today.
He is getting definitely a whole lot of experience. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the overtake challenges in some video games where you have to overtake a certain amount of cars, and it's just sort of like this is practice for that, and they're definitely nailing it. It's been very clean so far, and other than the accidental bumping by I believe Denike on rubber, it has been a very clean race throughout.
Yeah, I've been very impressed so far with how the drivers have handled this. From my experience, Bahrain's actually a pretty easy track to get into a lot of trouble really fast with. But these guys have handled it like pros. Weber passing the two GT2 leaders down into 14.
Rubber, meanwhile, putting in a new fastest lap, 148.2. Which is faster than the LMP lap record set by Paul di Resta, 148.57 for the record.
That's interesting that it showed that, because I thought I'd seen a couple of 147s out of him. I might have to keep an eye on Rubber for a bit here and see what's up.
Weber going extremely wide through the corners here, kicking up some sparks, but he seems to have his own held down pretty good. He's 2 laps behind the McLaren of Charles Bertrand, so more than likely P4 is where he's going to be at the end of this race, which it's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, P4 is not bad, especially in this race, considering he's trying to maintain a second place in the championship. A 4th will give him a great deal of points, and it'll take a fair amount for anybody to catch him, I think, for 2nd.
Not to mention that Simo Dalby's current pace with P2, it's definitely going to be extremely helpful in the points. Simo Dalby currently 10th in the LMP2 standings, the driver's standings, with a disqualification at the first race, 5th place at Road America, and a DNF at Daytona, so a 2nd place win would definitely move him up quite significantly in the points. And if he does finish P2, he'll actually take out the Heinz. Sorry, not Heinz. The Albert Hygen Racing Team with 80 points, and if they're able to take home 2nd place, they'll put themselves quite higher up.
Yeah, and in GT2, there's actually even bigger implications, I think, here, potentially. Axelsen has 2 firsts at the first race and Road America and a 2nd at Daytona. Olivier only has a single first place with a pole position, however, at Daytona, after not attending the first 2 races. So any points haul would be good for him. I'm sure he would still like the win to try to close in on some of the higher placed drivers, but even a 3rd for him is a pretty good finish at this point.
Yeah. Especially since I don't think anyone's going to be able to dethrone Axelsen for a while unless he mysteriously misses a couple of races.
Yeah, I don't remember the point-paying positions off the top of my head, but I think this may take Axelsen to over twice the points of 2nd-placed Josh Brooks. And considering how Brooks has done, Brooks is really good, but Axelsen is almost just in a league of his own here.
Yeah. Brooks is doing a great job staying right on the tail end of Axelsen. He's on the soft tires, which are faster, but Weber, meanwhile, putting in the fastest lap of a 147.1.
Wow. Yeah, Weber's found something else on that lap. Have to see if he can keep that up, close in all a bit.
He's definitely taken some pages out of Rubber's book and just putting getting as much performance as possible out of those medium tires.
Yeah. And Brooks still staying on Axelsen on the softs, so He's not letting up at all either. Interesting that the Corvettes, I think, take a bit of a wider line out of turn 1, which I think costs them a bit of speed through 2, but they make it back up on the straights with their extra power anyway.
Mm-hmm. Rubber, meanwhile, getting past one of the back markers in the Volkswagen Scirocco, continuously raising his lead here, as he has 43.8 on Dalby and 58.7 on Bertrand.
To be honest, I'm surprised it's only a minute on third place there. I think Bertrand's actually closed up on the lap times a bit through the race.
Yeah, he just, oh wow, Weber putting in a 146.952.
Looks like Weber has pulled over to the edge of the track and pulled into the pits.
That's impressive. Fastest lap and then back to the pits. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Weber is retiring from the race with that fastest lap. Guess we'll have to find out.
We'll have to see as time progresses, but focusing back on the track here, Axelson leading the pack of cars here.
Axelson and Brooks here coming up on one of the road racing Corvettes
Miguel Costa.
And lapping them.
Yep. And here comes Dalby to overtake the four of them actually.
Ooh, that was close. Dalby not quite getting it done there. And now in the middle of this battle. Man, he's all out of shape now.
Yeah, that's not going to be too good for him.
Yeah, he's back behind all of them.
So
with an off-track excursion as well.
So he's gonna have to do it all over again, but he could probably do it all over. He'd probably do it 10, 15 times over again.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he'll at least get one or two on this straight. We'll see if he can get any farther. Haven't spoken about him in a bit, but Daniel Ricciardo only probably 10 seconds back on the fight in the LMP or the GT2 category. Only about a half, short straight behind. So he's keeping up there pretty well on those medium tires with his own Scirocco.
Yeah, and with the current standings, he would be P3 in the GT2, which would be very great for his points. Currently, Ricciardo is 12th in the standings with 26 points, tied with By Mythic. Ricciardo has a DNF, did not start at Road America, and a 4th place finish at Daytona, so a 3rd place finish is definitely something that would push him further up in the points.
Excuse me, it would actually be a 4th place finish because Olivier is actually in behind Brooks as well.
Oh, well.
About to lap his Bro Racing teammate of Miguel Costa. But Costa's actually holding up with the leaders as well, so hopefully he won't make it too hard on his teammate, but I guess that'll be another thing to find out. Bit more drama through the race. Might see a bit of driver fatigue there.
Yeah.
If not physically, mental fatigue over an hour and a half race is actually pretty strong if you're not doing this on a professional level or doing it every day. These guys are pretty good though. They're holding it together pretty well, but you're just seeing a bit more mistakes here and there, bit closer action, bit more pressure from some drivers on others. as Olivier tries to pull up alongside his teammate to lap him, who lets him by into the corner. And up over the hill into turn 13. Nice job slowing the car down into the corner and heading down the back straight to 14.
Axelson, meanwhile, putting a bit of a gap between him and Josh Brooks, raising the gap to about, I'd say, wait for the numbers here, 1.3 seconds on the gap. So he's putting a bit of distance between him and the Scirocco, but with 10 minutes left, I doubt it's going to be worth it.
Well, it'd be nice for Axelson to not have to worry every single corner about a Scirocco behind him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're both doing a good race here. I think Brooks may be running out of tires at this point on the softs, but if he's got anything left, I think he could make an interesting move. It's only 1.3 seconds. It's not too much to close up.
Not at all.
And if there's any mistake by Axelson, you can bet Brooks will be right there to take advantage of it.
He's going to capitalize as much as he can on any mistakes that Axelson will make, but he is doing his damnedest to put in a strong but very clean performance in the Corvette.
Indeed. Weber is out in 6th on the medium tire, so he's back in the middle of this Olivier Brooks Axelson train again. And looks like he's going to pass Brooks and Axelson on the 13-14 straight rather than getting in the way of the battle in the corners.
Well, he's able to get past Brooks, but he's slotting himself onto Axelson until he goes for the overtake on the straight here.
Indeed he is, and he flies by.
A lot of drivers up and down their grid putting in new personal bests. Axelson, Brooks, Olivier, and Paulson all going purple with their lap times.
Indeed they have. Nice to see a bit of a ramp up in the action near the end of the race. Surprisingly, not seeing that much action back in the field. I think the field's kind of spread out a bit at this point.
Yeah, the back of the field has been rather quiet.
Yeah, the only driver that's really taken advantage through all of this of his soft tires has been Josh Brooks. The next closest one would be Labiak in 10th, but I don't think he started much behind 10th, so...
I don't think so, no.
Brooks doing a really good job here to make it up to 6th overall and 2nd in class. We'll have to say that Brooks and Axelson have gapped Olivier by a couple seconds. Have to see if Olivier can do anything about that with 8 minutes to go, but I think Brooks and Axelson are really just in a race of their own at this point. Sort of like Rubber, who's turning 147s again, up in the lead.
It's impressive. He's actually managed to go 1 minute and 1.5 faster than Dalby. So he is. I don't know what sort of magic he's pulling with this car, but he's pulling all the stops.
Well, you'd expect nothing else from the guy who's leading the points, and he's showing why he does.
He is definitely showing that. All Alright, I'm gonna keep the camera on him for a second. I gotta use the lavatory.
Alright. So, looks like back in the field a bit, just looking through things. Looks like the majority of the GT2 field is in the 2-minute range. Labiak's pulling out some 158s, as is Nike. Top 10 of all appears to be in the 158s or 159s, which I believe is about where they qualified. I don't think we had anybody in the 157s in the GT2 pack. Brooks closing in a bit more on Axelson. Olivier maybe falling a bit back from them, but Ricardo's only a couple seconds behind Olivier. Might be able to take advantage if Olivier spins out or goes off track.
Speaking of off track, it looks like we have Crab Paulson, who has went wide in the Ryanair Corvette. Seems to be having some sort of trouble, but he seems to have got that back under control here.
He's still a bit slow here. He's only in third, fourth gear there at about 90 miles an hour, 150 kilometers an hour. Not really sure what's going on with him. He's actually been pretty slow for a couple laps. He's been in the 204 range, about 2 seconds off the majority of the GT2 field.
I wonder if he has some sort of mechanical problem that we just can't seem to spot out, because he's been going wide in a number of these corners, so I fear he might have an issue with his steering, if anything.
Yeah, he's back up to speed on the straight. Let's see if he goes into the pits here.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, Paulson did not go into the pits, so
Might have been just a bit of a clerical error then on his part.
as Rubber passes him yet again.
As we come towards the final 5 minutes of the race, Axelson and Brooks still in a little battle of their own here. Brooks closing the gap down to about 8 tenths, excuse me, on Axelson, but he'll keep fighting him through the corners.
It's good to see these lower downforce cars that can run close together. Makes for a lot closer battles. They may not be able to get by, which I don't think is up to the cars. I think that's actually because the drivers are both that good.
Yeah.
But the cars have really produced some great racing today. And down the back straight yet again. Back into the bright sunlight. It is now completely daytime in Bahrain.
Ah, yes, perfect timing for another crash.
Been a
Oh, wait,
fairly
no,
clean
never
race
mind.
here.
Oh, never mind, we're good.
Yeah, it looked like the stream pros there for a moment.
Yeah. Well, whatever happened, happened. We're good
Yeah.
now.
You know, Brooks is down to 2.5 tenths behind Axelson.
Yeah.
Really making him work for this victory here.
He's losing a little bit of time on the straights, but he's making it up in the corners, and he'll fight him on every single corner to get past.
Yeah, I think when Brooks dropped back there for a bit, he may have just been letting the tires cool down a bit so he'd have something with the softs left for the last couple laps.
Mm-hmm. Daniel
Looks
Ricciardo.
like we have a
Daniel.
McLaren LMP2 here.
Yep.
Coming past again.
That's Rubber, again. Daniel Ricciardo, meanwhile, coming into the pits here with 3 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing for him, I would say. He's been running in 8th position overall, 4th in class, and going to lose a position or two at the end. Yeah, Brooks falling back to about a half a second behind. I'm noticing him taking a couple of wider lines on corner exits, just trying to eke out that last little bit to try to close up on Axelson with 2 minutes to go.
Weber, meanwhile, is back in the pits once more. Ricardo is back out. He did lose one position to Sanil Naik, but he is now back on the softs.
I think Ricardo might be trying for the LMP2 lap record here.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a
GT2, excuse me.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy to come in a few laps down and come back in and go out into softer compounds. So you might only take in a few points, but you'll still get a point for fastest lap. So you'll take that from everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, goody! With a minute.
Brooks way running wide to turn 4 there.
With a minute left, the game crashed again, but I'm coming back as fast as I can.
All right. So Brooks runs far to the left at turn 4, comes back, but he's lost some time to Axelson. Not sure if he's going to make that back up. Axelson now 4th overall. Weber is back a bit. I suspect he'll make it back up to 4th by the end of the race. Looks like Rubber he's still in the 147s, just driving away from everybody. At the moment, top 5 in GT2 would be Axelson, Brooks, Olivier, Weber, Nike, and Daniel Ricciardo, 5th in class and 9th overall. Labiak in 10th, and I don't think he's close enough to make a move on anybody. Surprisingly spread out field after the first couple cars in GT2.
And with that across the line, that puts Rubber in P1 as they're coming down to the final lap of tonight's event here.
Yep.
As Rubber gets a little bit squirrely under braking, but not the end of the world here. Or it's already over, I think.
Yeah, I'm seeing a final lap warning, but looks like Rubber has slowed down, so I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Don't know why it's telling me final lap if he's already slowed down, but maybe it's already over.
I think he crossed the line just as the timer ticked over to 0. So that's probably why.
That could be.
But with this puts Rubber P1, Simel Dalby P2, Charles Bertrand P3, and
should be Weber 4th in class in LMP1.
The leader in the GT class is Eric Axelson, who takes home P1, Josh Brooks, who takes home P2, and Jack Olivier, who takes home P3 in the GT class.
Okay with that podium. They all were pretty good through the race. I kind of feel for Olivier, one small mistake dropped him to, 3rd.
Yeah. They all put in. I do have to say Robbie. They all put in an absolutely fantastic performance today.
That was I would say the race. The highlight of the race for me was that battle. They were all so close through it. They were separated by 2 seconds at the end.
I believe so. Yeah.
That's very little time over an hour and a half. Very good job by those guys. Would love to see them race again that close. I think that wraps up the race here.
Yep, I just need to put out a message here for post-race interviews. And while we get our post-race interviews together, we're going to run a quick trailer for the Season 6 of the Assetto Friends AF1. Stick around for the post-race interviews.
but you forgot to put the trailer on stream or the teaser on stream.
What?
Yeah, you forgot to put the teaser on stream. The stream couldn't see it; they only heard it.
They didn't see it?
Yep.
Oh, for crying out loud. Alright, well, hang on, let me switch back. Sorry, this transition thing. Can you see it now?
Not seeing it right now.
Interesting.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Alright, well. I'm gonna run that real quick. Okay, there we go. Now we can switch to the interviews. I've already forgotten the standings. Oh boy.
Looks to be Rubber in first in LMP2, with Dalby second and Bertrand third, and in GT2, Axelson first, Brooks second, and Olivier third to round off the podium.
All right. Well, I think for starters we'll talk to the LMP guys here. I'm asking someone to get Rubber moved up here, so we have our post-race interview here. I'd like to apologize for the large number of technical difficulties here. Not exactly in my control.
Between us and Weber there, I'm not sure if we've really had that great of a day for any of us, technical difficulty-wise.
Yes, my technical difficulties, Weber's technical difficulties. It's been something, I'll say that.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so Rubber, first of all, I just want to say congratulations. Your second make sure here. Your second race win this season, and coming back from P3 at Daytona. You must feel, I mean, you were absolutely on fire throughout the entire race. You must feel pretty proud about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a cruise to victory, but there wasn't many drivers in this category this day, so...
And one thing I do want to ask, how were you able to get so much performance out of the tires you were running? You barely made any pit stops, but yet you were consistently putting in fastest lap after fastest lap.
Yeah, it kinda evens out, so at the end of the stint you have tire wear, but you still do the same lap time since you have less fuel in the car.
Robbie, you got any questions?
Nope.
The race, you actually seem to be having a lot of passing of lapped cars in other categories. Any challenges with that, or is it just pretty much wait for the right gap and go through?
Yeah, it went smoothly today.
Yeah, I did notice that you did tangle with one of the back markers, one of the Scirocco's. You got tagged from behind, I think. That have any effect in your performance, or do you really not think too much about it?
No, I lost a few seconds, but the gap I had was just very big, so it didn't matter.
All right. Well, I want to say once again, thank you very much for taking time for this interview, and once again, congratulations. You're pushing yourself further up, and we hope to see you at the next race. So we might be able to bring in a third race win.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, anyways, we seem to have some technical stuff with the interviews, so actually wait, no, hold on. Who was the GT2 winner, I think?
Axelson.
Axelson. I don't think we can pull him in for an interview. Okay, so anyways, that's going to wrap it up for the end of this race here. Well, for starters, I want to say a big thank you to Robbie for joining me here, and hopefully he'll be able to join me for future commentaries.
I hope so too. I think it was a good time. Was a great race, especially in the GT2 category. Hopefully, the remaining races of the season are as good as this one.
Absolutely. Anyways, I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and we will see you on April 10th, where we will be at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. Until then, thank you.